The research vessel Horizon drifted through the debris field like a ghost searching for memories. Captain Marcus Reed stood at the observation deck, watching fragments of an unknown civilization tumble past in the cold silence of space. 3 weeks they had been mapping this graveyard, cataloging the remains of a species that had died before humanity even learned to write. "Captain, we have something unusual," called Lieutenant Emma Torres from the scanning station. "Section 7 Alpha. There's a heat signature." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Heat meant energy. Energy meant possibility. In 3 weeks, every piece of wreckage they had found was as cold as the void itself. How unusual! 0.7 degrees above ambient. It's faint, but it's there. And it's stable? Marcus crossed the bridge in 4 strides. "Take us in, carefully." The Horizon adjusted course, her engines barely whispering as she maneuvered between the drifting ruins. Through the viewport, Marcus watched as their target came into view, a pod roughly spherical, its surface covered in crystalline formations that caught and fractured the distant starlight into rainbow fragments. "Life signs?" Marcus asked. Torres shook her head, then hesitated. "No, maybe. The crystal is interfering with the scans. There's definitely something organic inside, but whether it's alive." She trailed off. "Bring it aboard." Full containment protocol. 2 hours later, Marcus stood in the medical bay, staring at the pod through reinforced glass. Up close, it was beautiful in a tragic way. The crystals formed intricate patterns, like frost on a winter window, but these patterns had purpose. They were arranged in spirals and geometric shapes that suggested deliberate design. Dr. James Patterson, the ship's xenobiologist, circled the pod slowly, his scanner humming. "Remarkable. The crystalline structure appears to be organic in origin, some kind of excreted mineral compound that hardened over time. Can we see inside?" "I'm afraid the density is too great for our scanners. We could try cutting through, but we might damage whatever's inside," Marcus finished. "How long has this been out here?" Patterson consulted his readings. "Based on the decay rate of the surrounding debris and the cosmic radiation exposure, I'd estimate between 800 and 1,000 years. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. 1,000 years, frozen in crystal, drifting through the dark. What desperation would drive someone to such an act? "The heat signature," Marcus said. "Where's it coming from?" Patterson pointed to the center of the pod. "Here, something is still generating energy. Not much, but enough to register. It's like a candle that's been burning for centuries, somehow never quite going out." Marcus stepped closer to the glass. In the bright lights of the medical bay, he could almost see shapes within the crystal, shadows that might have been limbs, curves that suggested a form. 2 forms, he realized. One larger, one small. "Doctor, I want you to," the ship lurched. Alarm screamed through the corridors. Marcus slapped his cum badge. "Bridge, report. Energy surge in Section 7 Alpha." Torres's voice crackled back. "Multiple contacts emerging from the debris field. They're not natural, Captain. They're ships. Ancient, but they're powering up." Marcus ran. Behind him, he heard Patterson shout something, but the words were lost in the chaos of the crew rushing to battle stations. The bridge was controlled chaos when he arrived. Officers calling out readings as the view screen filled with angular vessels that looked like they had been grown rather than built. "They're scanning us," Torres reported. "High-intensity beams focused on the medical bay." "They know we have the pod," Marcus said. "How many ships?" 6. No, 8. They're spreading out, forming a perimeter. "Weapons?" "Charged and tracking us." "Captain, these things are old, but they're still dangerous." Marcus gripped the arm of his command chair. After 1,000 years, automated guardians still watched over their dead. still protecting something. Or someone. Open a channel. All frequencies. Channel open. Marcus took a breath. Unknown vessels. This is Captain Marcus Reed of the human ship Horizon. We mean no harm. We found one of your pods and brought it aboard to protect it from the debris field. We have not damaged it. We only want to help. Silence. Then the lead vessel began to move closer, its weapons hot. They're not interested in talking, Torres said, her voice tight. Marcus made his decision. Take us back toward the debris field. Put the densest concentration between us and them. And get me Patterson. The doctor's face appeared on the screen, pale and sweating. Captain, the pod is reacting to something. The crystal is warming up. I think. The ship shuddered as an energy beam glanced off their shields. Doctor, I need you to open that pod. Now. But we don't know what. Now. If they're willing to attack us to get it back, then maybe whatever's inside is worth saving. Marcus cut the connection and focused on the tactical display. The Horizon was fast, but she was a research vessel, not a warship. They could run, but they would never make it to the jump point before those ancient vessels caught them. In the medical bay, Patterson stared at the pod, his mind racing. Heat. The crystal had formed in response to cold, to preserve whatever was inside. So perhaps warmth was the key to undoing it. He grabbed a thermal regulator and set it to maximum output, then aimed it at the center of the pod, where the two shapes met. The effect was immediate. The crystal began to crack, fissures spreading like lightning across its surface. Light leaked from within, pale and gentle. Patterson adjusted the heat, maintaining a steady temperature as the crystal shell fell away in pieces. Inside, he found them. The larger one was clearly the mother. Her body was curled protectively around the smaller form, her arms wrapped tight. Their skin was pale blue, delicate as porcelain. Neither moved. Patterson checked for vital signs, his hands shaking. The child, nothing. The mother, nothing. No pulse, no respiration, no neural activity. They were gone, had been gone for centuries, preserved in crystal-like insects in amber. But the heat signature, it was still there, centered in the mother's chest. Patterson placed his hand over her heart. Warmth. Real warmth, not just residual energy. He pressed harder and felt it, the faintest flutter, as if something deep inside remembered what it meant to beat. No, he whispered. No, you don't give up. Not after 1,000 years. He grabbed the defibrillator, modified it for non-human physiology, and placed the pads on her chest. Clear. The shock jolted through her. Nothing. He adjusted the settings and tried again. And again. On the bridge, Marcus watched the ancient ships closing in. They had minutes at best. In the medical bay, Patterson refused to stop. He had dedicated his life to understanding alien life, but understanding meant nothing if he couldn't preserve it. He cranked the defibrillator to maximum, knowing it might destroy her, but knowing that she was already lost if he did nothing. Come on, he pleaded. You held on this long. Don't quit now. One more shock. Her back arched. Her eyes snapped open, huge and violet, filled with terror and confusion. She gasped, her lungs dragging in air for the first time in a millennium. Then she looked down at the child in her arms and made a sound that needed no translation. It was pure anguish. Patterson grabbed an oxygen mask, placed it over her face. Breathe. Just breathe. I'm trying to help. She looked at him, and he saw intelligence there, fighting through the fog of suspended animation. She held up the child, desperate, pleading. Patterson took the small form in his hands. So light, so fragile. He placed the child on the medical table and began compressions, his fingers barely spanning the tiny chest. On the bridge, Torres called out, Captain, The vessels are standing down. They're pulling back. Marcus stared at the view screen. The ancient ships had stopped, their weapons powering down. What changed? I don't know, sir. They're just watching. In the medical bay, Patterson felt it, the first weak flutter of a heartbeat under his fingers. He kept going, steady compressions, breathing for the child through a modified mask. The mother had crawled off the table, was kneeling beside him, her hands clasped as if in prayer. The child's eyes opened. Small violet, perfect. A thin cry escaped its lips. The mother sobbed and reached out. Patterson placed the child in her arms and watched as she held it close, rocking back and forth, making soft sounds that might have been words or might have been song. Patterson stepped back, giving them space, and realized his face was wet with tears. Marcus came through the door at a run. He stopped when he saw them, the alien mother and child, reunited after 1,000 years of frozen sleep. Alive. The ships, Marcus said softly. They knew. They were waiting for this. Patterson nodded. Guardian protocols. Protect the pod until it could be opened safely. They must have detected our medical equipment. Recognized we were trying to help. They stood in silence, watching the mother examine her child, counting fingers, checking for injuries, doing all the things mothers do across every species in the galaxy. Sir, Torres's voice came through the com. The vessels are powering down completely, going dormant. And they're transmitting something. Coordinates. Marcus and Patterson exchanged glances. What's at those coordinates? Marcus asked. Unknown, sir. But it's outside the debris field. And the transmission, it's repeating. Over and over. Marcus looked at the mother, who was looking back at him now with those huge violet eyes. She didn't speak his law.